Hey everyone, in this video, we're going to have a look at the brand new Xpeng P7. So it's the second generation of the Chinese sedan, and it debuts some incredible new technology for the brand, a brand new design language as well. Let's have a look at some of the key stats first. So it has a drag coefficient of 0.201, so extremely aerodynamic, slightly more than the Xiaomi SU7, but still within the ballpark of the top of the category. It has 270 kilowatts in its rear-wheel drive configuration and 437 kilowatts in its all-wheel drive configuration. And it's got over 800 kilometers of range in air, according to the CLTC cycle. It's slightly more optimistic in general than the WLTP cycle, so expect that to be maybe around late 600s, potentially in terms of real range, which is still quite incredible for a luxury EV sedan. And it's only going to be starting at 42,000 USD in China, so extremely affordable for what you get. In terms of technologies, it's a powerhouse in terms of its processing power. It has 3 in-house Turing AI chips. It has some of the strongest smart driving capabilities within the EV space, and it enables some functionality such as vision, language, action for models, so adaptive decision making and proactive in-cabin interactions. It's a lot of technology. We'll have to see how that plays out in terms of real-life usability, but it sounds like it's really pushing the boundaries here of what's possible. Inside, you've got what they're debuting as the Technology Islands, a massive 87-inch heads-up display. It's the largest in its class. And of course, you've got your 15.6-inch central infotainment screen and has 3-axis movement as well. And what's interesting for a sedan is that it's even available with scissor doors. So you can pretend like it's a supercar as well in a saloon shape. Introducing a lot of firsts for the brand. Yeah, so it's very exciting times ahead for Xpeng. Let's have a look now at the exterior design of this vehicle. So if we look at the front here, it's got a very kind of wedgy design. It's got a full-length light bar at the front, but they've got 2 DRLs going vertically up and downwards to the sides of the full-length light bar, and then you've got the actual main beams hidden in between here. So it's quite a unique design, I think. The light bar is quite common these days. Hyundai and a number of Chinese brands have been championing, but I think the way they've introduced this, where it's a little bit slimmer, I really like the way they've integrated these main beam headlights, which some manufacturers actually struggle with. I'm thinking some of the BMWs where it looks very obvious, for example, in the i7 and BMW 7 Series, that it's completely a separate unit, but here it's nicely integrated into, I assume, where it's got a lot of the sensors and other functionality to help with self-driving and monitoring of the road. And if you look at the color choice here, it's a wild color choice. It's a nice yellow here. They've got a number of different kind of exciting colors as well. You've got this nice blue too, which is great. And then if you move on to the rear, it really looks like it's been cohesively designed. You've got that similar pattern where you've got that full length light bar and then a couple of lights, LED lights here, vertically integrated, split. And it's a very bluff rear end, but I think it works. And the way they've integrated this rear wing, where it looks like it's dynamic and doesn't always appear, but only, I guess, at high speeds where it's required. So you're really seeing the likes of a supercar design, something like a Lamborghini, brought into the mainstream, which is super exciting. And I actually think this is probably the best designed car that I've seen out of China. And look, we don't even have to say China anymore. This is one of the best designed cars, period, that is currently available. So Xpeng are really pushing the boundaries here, which I love to see. If you look at that side profile, it's a really elegant, minimalist side profile, wraparound style windscreen with these blacked out A pillars and B and C pillars here. And I assume it probably has frameless windows as well. We'll have to see more images of that. But the way it's designed, I am very impressed by this vehicle. And it's one of the reasons that I wanted to cover it here, even if it's not necessarily coming to Western markets just yet. But hopefully in the future, we might see in the likes of Australia, because we're already seeing some Xpengs being introduced here. So if they feel that there's a market for this overseas, we might see it as well. So really nice cohesive design. You've got a number of different wheel choices as well. You've got this interesting design where it's a bit of an X pattern which mimics the Xpeng logo, which is unique. Not my favorite design. I think I like this design better, which is a little bit Volvo-esque. But it's nice to see daring options here from the brand as well. If you compare it to the previous model, I personally don't think this even looks out of date. This is actually something that could still run for a number of years, but it really shows how the Chinese brands are pushing the game forward and constantly innovating. And they're not taking a backward step, which really signals some warning signs for the likes of the Japanese and even the European brands as well. Compared to the previous model, you can see that the new generation has a bit of a better integration with the main beams. Here, it's more of a traditional design that we've seen in the last 5 years or so, where it's very obvious this is a different main beam to the main LEDs that you've got here. And again, I think Xpeng have done a good job at making the front end and rear end cohesive, even in the previous generation. You see a lot of cars these days where they've got massive design teams, and then it looks like that the front end's been designed by a completely different design of the rear end, I mean the side profile. Some of these European brands you're seeing, really there's a huge disconnect here, but it looks like Xpeng have really nailed the design brief and all the teams are working together towards a similar goal. Let's have a look at the interior now. So here we don't have a lot of details, but as mentioned, there's a massive heads-up display that more or less takes up the whole windscreen, 87 inches. You've got a driver's display here, which is quite slim and well integrated. It doesn't just look like a tablet that's been placed on top of the dashboard, which I like to see. And this steering wheel here, it's very Xiaomi-esque, Xiaomi SU7, even Porsche-esque, where you've got these two driving mode buttons here. But I think it's an elegant design. It's not quite a circle. It's more like a square core type design, but it looks quite ergonomic, which I like. And I think importantly here, it looks premium. We've got this massive 15.6-inch display, which has a minimal bezel here, but that in most cars these days. But you've got some really nice materials here. You've got this kind of shaved carbon fiber look on the steering wheel, here in the center console, and here running along the dashboard for the passenger side as well. They're not skimping on materials. It looks like they're really putting some attention to detail. And for 42,000 USD in China, it's probably going to be a little bit more if it's exported overseas. I think that's incredible value. And here you can see the rear passengers aren't skimped on technology as well. They've got another display here similar to the facelifted Tesla Model 3. Compared to the previous generation, again, I would say this is a design that certainly still fits into 2025. And if we're honest here, they probably didn't even need to update it. The steering wheel is a bit of more of a modern design compared to this design, which is still nice, still very kind of still very ergonomic, very simple, with just a two-spoke design. But here, I think it looks a little bit more racy, a little bit more driver focused. It matches the exterior, which really has that supercar vibe going as well. Let's have a look at some of the designs that might be similar to the Xpeng, which maybe it took some inspiration from, or it could be a coincidence. So I picked here the Lamborghini Estoque concept from, I believe it was 2008, which it's a crying shame that this never went into production, because I do feel that this actually would have done quite well for Lamborghini. So it's got that real edgy, typical Lamborghini design they've had for the last 20 years, but brought to a sedan form, which I like to see. And Xpeng have brought. Too often you see very soft designs, or it's quite squared off designs as well from Volkswagen's gone by and Volvo's, but to this kind of edginess extent, you don't really see it too often, which I like to see. So I think this is a modern take on the Estoque in some ways. The Aston Martin Lagonda Taraf is another one which has more of that edgy profile, or although it's a bit softer, given that it's more upmarket and targeted more at those millionaires and billionaires that want a little bit more of a conservative design. And then finally here, you've got the upcoming Polestar. So I think this is probably the closest design to the new Xpeng. And I can't fault this design either. I think these are neck and neck for the best looking sedans on the market at the moment. And you've got a very similar rear end with that real kind of edgy light bar signature. Here they've got no rear window, which is becoming a little bit of a Polestar trait. Whereas here you've got still that rear window intact, which I prefer to see. I don't want to rely too heavily on a rear view camera. If it gets broken or gets blocked in terms of field of view, then you want a backup option. So that's the new Xpeng P7. Exciting times ahead. I wanted to take a look at it, not just because it's a new car for Xpeng, but I think it really signals the next generation of car design for China and for the world as well. And if there's more cars coming out of the Xpeng paddock that look like this, I think they're going to have a great time in the market and they're really going to push the boundaries of what's possible out there.